Welcome to the Bend Don't Break podcast. We are powered by The Source, Ben's locally owned media company and weekly newspaper. This podcast is our eddy in the rushing waters of local journalism. We are glad that you're taking some of your time to listen to us chat with the people who shape our local community. Support us through our member program at bensource.com.
Thank you to our presenting sponsor, RE/MAX Key Properties, a family-owned full-service real estate brokerage specializing in residential, luxury, commercial, new construction, and ranch and land properties. Their new state-of-the-art facility at 42 Greenwood Avenue is a modern, collaborative space and the new home of the Bend Don't Break podcast recording studio.
I'm Aaron Switzer, publisher of The Source and producer of this Bend Don't Break podcast. Today we are joined by Lily Raff McCaulou. McCaulou.
Yeah.
Is a journalist who has written for the New York Times, The Atlantic, The Guardian, Rolling Stone, The Bulletin. We're familiar with that one, even if you're not well read in the others, though you should be, and many other publications. She has won numerous awards and spent 1 year as a Knight Wallace Fellow at the University of Michigan. She is the author of one nonfiction book, Call of the Mild, Learning to Hunt My Own Dinner, with the San Francisco Chronicle named one of the best books of 2012. Since 2021, she has worked at Central Oregon Community College as a part-time journalism instructor and advisor for the student newspaper, The Broadside. Lily, thanks for spending some time with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm always like to start these podcasts a little curious of how a Knight Wallace Fellow at the University of Michigan ends up in Bend, Oregon, with all of the talents that you no doubt displayed back there. How do we get here?
I moved here in 2004, way before I was a Knight Wallace Fellow.
Oh, okay.
But I moved here in 2004 to work for the Bulletin.
Okay.
So I had been here once a few years before that on a road trip and thought it was pretty cool. In 2004, I was living in New York City. I'd been there for a few years in Manhattan. And I wanted to get a job in journalism. I had worked in journalism in college and kind of went a different path after I graduated and wanted to try my hand at it again.
What did you do while you were swerving?
I worked in the independent film industry in New York City. So I worked for a movie.
You didn't stray too far.
Not well. I worked for a movie director and writer as his personal assistant, and I was a production assistant on a bunch of TV shows and movies.
Fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun for a while, and then after a couple of years, I kind of looked around and thought, there's a lot of people in their 40s doing what I'm doing. And I had kind of run away from journalism because it had seemed like a really scary time for journalism in 2001. And I just kind of thought, this doesn't seem like an industry that's really going anywhere.
Yeah.
This would be really, really awful to work in. So I went a different route. And then after a couple of years in New York and working in film, I thought, I really want to get paid to write. That would be the ideal.
Yeah, right.
So I'm going to go back to
your
journalism.
own stuff, not
my own stuff.
Yeah, not the director's stuff.
I wasn't writing anything.
Right.
I was running around buying, cranberry juice for people. So I applied. I went on journalismjobs.com. Do you remember that website?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And I applied to all the jobs in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Montana. And the Bulletin called me. A couple places called me. The Bulletin called me and eventually offered me a job, and I moved out here.
Wow.
And the rest is history. I thought I'd be here for a year, maybe 2 years.
Were you surprised ever taking that big break that, you had been in film, so you were still could have appeared that you were doing some writing, but you took a pretty long time off from the craft and then took the position at the Bulletin.
Yeah, I think that the work itself was different. It was so stress-free compared to working on a movie set.
I thought it was going to be the other way around. Like I was a reporter.
No.
And what had I done?
No.
I was getting 1 minute you're getting cranberry juice.
It was so easygoing. The cranberry juice was like a life or death situation on every movie that I worked on. And so I don't know. Working in a newsroom was really fun. It was a lot of what I liked the most about working on a movie set, which was a lot of fun, creative people.
Yeah.
Which that's the best part of working in a newsroom.
Yeah.
Every newsroom I've been in has just been fun, funny people. And it's stressful. It can be stressful. But the day to day,
I think you can say it is stressful.
It is stressful, but the day to day was a lot less stressful than what I'd been used to. So it was kind of a nice
Don't
change
hear
of
that
pace.
very often.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It makes
good
me realize
perspective
how
to have.
toxic some of the movie shoots were. But yeah.
Yeah. Well,
But one thing that
go
I
ahead.
did want to say is that it's funny to me now looking back on it that I was scared off from the journalism industry in 2001 because every year, now I've been a journalist, for 21 years, and that's just the way it is in
Right.
journalism. It's
It is,
always
right.
there's always
Yeah.
a crisis. It's always on the brink of collapse. And I don't mean to be glib about it, because I think that a lot of the hardship in the industry is really serious and ongoing and worsening.
Well, I think it's fair. I mean, I do think you it is worsening. I mean, in that, but it's true for those of us who have been in it for this long. We have moved from one crisis to another in terms of, oh my gosh, but still we're able to do good work during that time, and
Yeah.
seems like I'll be doing good work, and you're still in the industry, and albeit at COCC, but it's still here.
Yeah, I think it will last
Yeah.
too. I'm hopeful about it right
Yeah.
now.
I hope so, because you are the COCC instructor of young children.
That's true. I kind of have to believe in the future of journalism to be teaching it right now, don't I?
Right.
That's one of the things that's been really fun about working at COCC is working with young people who are excited about the future of
Yeah.
journalism and excited about storytelling and not as jaded as some of the people who've been in the business a long time.
Yeah. Well, full disclosure, I help with Broadside as well, and that's what I was struck by going in there, and I speak to middle school classes, high school classes, my college students, but that particular group, okay, they're getting into journalism, so they're already starting to separate from their peers in terms of being funny, smart, creative, which that field draws.
Yep.
And it was, at least last year, it was a cool group of cats, and they were interested in what I loved about talking to those kids was they were interested in the whole thing. I mean, a lot of times you come into those learning environments, and they're very specific about what they want to know, writing and the type of writing that goes into journalism. And these guys were interested in sales, how it works, how one supports the other, and
Yeah, they are. I had a real dream team this past year. A lot of them are coming back next year, so I'm really excited. But I think it's just kind of a testament to their general curiosity and their passion for journalism and like all the different facets of it, like you said. And I call them kids too. And some of them are, but one of the things that's so cool too about the student newsroom at COCC is it is truly diverse. I mean, we have people in their 40s and we have people in their teens and everything in between. And that's been really fun. It's been really fun to have all those different perspectives. It's very different from, I went to a liberal arts college and everybody in my student newsroom was between 18 and 22. There were zero exceptions to that.
right.
So it's really fun at COCC to just get a lot of different perspectives. We have people who are different ages and veterans and parents and just people with, previous careers and a lot of life experience. And so it's a really neat student newsroom.
And that's what's cool about community college is you get all these people in different paths on life, and they're still learning, still curious. And again, this group was especially.
Yeah, it still really feels like my college newsroom did too. I mean, it's fun. They get really silly. They're really supportive of one another. it's a really nice creative atmosphere.
Yeah. And you're, so the Broadside, how many print publications do you put out each year?
Well, so when I started in 2021, the Broadside had just turned into an online publication. So if I can just give like a little bit of a historical background.
Yep.
In 2018, COCC kind of tried to shut down the Broadside, and students and alumni and community members rightfully got upset about that and rallied and saved the publication. But it was switched to an online publication because the print costs had gotten so high. And there were some concerns about student engagement, maybe not that many people reading the print editions anymore. At the time, it was still coming out every week or every other week, depending on the time of year. So it was a lot of print for a small student publication. So in 2019, they decided, okay, we're going to reboot the Broadside as an online-only publication. I came on in 2021 in the fall when CFCC was just getting back to in-person after the start of the COVID pandemic. And so one of the things that I did my second year at COCC was try to revive a little bit of print. And the reason, I do.
Good for you.
I do love print. I'm a writer from, daily newspapers. But the real reason was I kind of ran into this issue where my students, because everything was being published online, they never experienced any hard deadlines.
Oh, okay.
All the deadlines were kind of these self-imposed artificial things that could get pushed back and pushed back and pushed back.
We struggle with that in the digital world.
It's hard. It's hard, but in a business setting, there are real deadlines even for online. In a classroom setting, it's much harder. And so I felt like I was doing my students a disservice by never having them experience a really hard deadline. Like when you have a press reserved for a certain period of time, you have to get your product to them by that time or you lose it. Yeah. You miss out. There's no print product. So I wanted my students to experience that. So we started printing in the spring of 2023, the end of my second year at COCC. And it was a really great experience for the students, though there were some students who missed the deadline and their pieces were not included in the print edition. That was
life lessons.
Exactly. Yeah. That was a learning experience for them. Overall, it was a really positive, and the students were so excited about seeing their work in print and getting to hold it. We had a lot of interest from advertisers who wanted to pay to support the Broadside. Yeah. So it went really well. The second year, we did that again. And then this past year, my students said, we want to do more than one a year. So they published an additional print product in the winter. And I told the students that if they could sell enough ads to cover the printing costs, we could do an additional. And they blew that goal out of the water. Yeah. So we printed twice in this past year. And I know that our editor-in-chief right now would really like to do one print edition each quarter. So that would mean 3 times a year. We'll see.
Yeah, growing in print and bucking the trend.
Yeah. Well, this younger generation is really into print.
Yeah.
They like the physical media.
I was just reading an article about a bunch of publications that have sprouted up in major cities that are being put out by Gen Z and younger who are fascinated by print. And my son he lives in New York, and he was picked up a couple. He was like, "It's like vinyl."
Yeah,
it's like it's like getting the record, and we're getting a hard copy of paper. And I was like, "You are aging me badly," but nonetheless, it's a pretty cool trend.
It is a cool trend. I think it's really cool. It's been really fun just seeing all the things that kind of come out of that at COCC. Little things. The students. There's a new literary magazine on campus at COCC that started this spring, and the Broadside students learned about that, and they actually donated 4 of the pages from the print edition to the new literary magazine. So they were able to pay a student designer to design the teaser of the literary magazine and include that in there, which was just a really nice, just a nice partnership with this other student group. Yeah. So it's just been really fun to kind of see what springs out of these big collective group projects that are the print edition.
My bridge to journalism was a literary magazine. When I was in grad school, I edited the Rocky Mountain Modern Language Association publication, and it was super cool and got me to go to the Boise Weekly and kept going from there. But it was that crossover from coming from a literary background to a literary publication, print publication. I was like, what's this?
There is a tradition. I mean, it's sort of outdated now. There are a couple. There's one that I know of, which is the newspaper in Bogota, Colombia. El Mundo it's still they still commission original poetry. They still have, basically a literature section, some of which includes original short stories and things like that.
Yeah.
So, and there is a tradition for newspapers. I mean, even a big newspaper like the New York Times, the Sunday Times is a big, meaty thing that has literature in it,
Alts like us have always, The Stranger one time published the entire publication was one of their local writers' book segments. And they ran it through every column. It was so cool. They broke the form. And, we do poetry. We'll do a poetry issue. And I think it's important. I mean, it's also harkening back to a lot of the writers come from creative lit backgrounds. And it's a diverse group of writers. So it's a little different. But yeah, it's awesome.
People think of newspapers as being so dry, but I feel the opposite. I feel like there's just so much in there, and and the people who make them are so creative. It's really fun, a student publication like the Broadside or an alt weekly like the Source. It's so cool when the people who create it are allowed some of that freedom to make it into something fun.
Yeah, these days I find they hold themselves back. Like the format used to be much wilder than it is now. And when these things get proposed, sometimes in editorial meetings, they'll propose these things and they'll think it's the craziest idea. And I'm like, yeah, you can, obviously you can do that. You can, you can use first person, you can tell your story, you can do, and they're like, oh, wow. So.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, I feel like when I was a young journalist, I'm 45 now, so it's been a while. But when I was first starting out, it was really hard to get anybody to approve a first person story. And I also I've joked with people about this. It was also something that young journalists wanted to write all the time. And my students never pitch first person stories. It's funny. It used to be like a rite of passage. You would just push and push and push. And then eventually an editor would say, fine, you can do it, you know. I remember my first person story.
Well, it's the allure of what you can't do, right? You're not allowed to do that. It's like someday I'm going to write first person in the paper,
Right.
But you do get to do a little more creatively when that happens. But I think that, one of the reasons is because from the editor side, you're horrified when you're getting all of these first person articles given to you. And you're like, no, nobody wants to read about your fishing experiences. Was there news around this?
Right. And it is still a little bit of a battle. I mean, I think there's, every generation is going to fight some of the same struggles, but I feel like it is one thing that I do feel like with certain students, I struggle to kind of get that newsworthiness across to them. It doesn't matter what you're writing for, even a magazine or something semi-literary. There needs to be a hook for your story.
Well, as much as we're joking about first person, how cool that is. I mean, it's a much lower on the totem than writing like a serious investigative news speech, which they have to definitely put in the time to learn the basics of. And and being a Knight Fellow, you went through the rigors of it.
Yeah, one of the things that's been really cool about.
And you went to that after the Bulletin?
Yeah, so I was actually working for the Bulletin when I applied for the fellowship, and I got it, and so I took a year-long leave of absence from the Bulletin and went to Michigan. And what's really cool about that program is it brings together 12 to 15 journalists from all over the world to spend a year there. You have twice weekly seminars. The program actually owns a house on the Michigan campus where you can just gather and cook dinners and things like that. But it's really a year free from deadlines to kind of explore your interests. And my book sort of grew out of that. But what's really lasted from that experience is my relationships with the other fellows, many of whom have been guest speakers to my classes at COCC, which has been really fun. I mean, I was with some just incredible, inspiring journalists in that program. Elena Malashina, who's a reporter. She was a reporter for the Novaya Gazeta in Russia, in Moscow. It was their only free press newspaper left until, Putin shut that down also in, I don't remember now, 2022, something like that. She spoke to my COCC class one time. Yeah, she stayed up till 2 or 3 in the morning so she could Zoom live with our class and answer their questions and talk about what it's like writing about, a country that doesn't have the same First Amendment protections that we have here in the United States. For now. Yeah. I think about her talk to my class so often. She was actually really brutally assaulted a couple months after she spoke with us. She had all of her fingers broken. She had acid poured on her face. Wow. And this was not the first time she'd been attacked. She'd broken some really big stories about gay men being tortured in Chechnya, and just a lot of big stories that powers that be over there do not want out there uncovered. Yeah. And she's paid a very serious personal price for it. And yeah, I think about her a lot. I think about she said some things to the class that were scary but kind of prescient too, about what's happening in our country now. But there were other people from all over the world doing really incredible work in journalism. Yeah. It was really inspiring to get to know them and become friends with them, and my COCC students benefit from that now.
That's great. Yeah,
they've helped me out a lot.
I saw a picture of you from your book. You had a shotgun vest.
Yeah.
Call of the Mild.
Call of the Mild. Yeah.
That's impressive too. You took a swerve and.
It was something that
it's nonfiction.
It's nonfiction. Yeah. It's part journalism. It's part memoir.
It was you in the vest.
That was me. My husband took that picture way before the book was a thing. I moved here in 2004 and I started learning to hunt in 2006. I took a hunter safety class. It took me I got interested in it. I kept meeting all these people who were hunters here. I mean, I grew up in Washington, D.C. This was not something that I was familiar with. But I kept meeting all these people who hunted, and they were not what I expected. They were, really passionate about the animals that they hunted in a way that that really surprised me. They thought about, what they ate and where it came from. The locavore movement was kind of gaining steam at that time. Michael Pollan was getting really big, and so it got interesting to me. And the first barrier that I ran into is I couldn't figure out how somebody learns to hunt. If your dad doesn't take you when you're a kid, how do you do it?
And you're a woman.
And you're a woman, and you're in your 20s.
You're not going to grab your 6-pack of Paps and head out to a tree stand with the guys.
I am not going to, no. So I had to kind of figure out, well, how do I learn to do this? And eventually a friend told me, well, you should take hunter safety. That was the first thing that I did when I was 11 or 12 or something. And so I interviewed people from ODFW all the time. So I looked it up or called and talked to somebody, and they said, oh, well, you just missed the adult class, but we have this, they said, all ages hunter safety class starting next week in Culver. You could sign up for that. And so I joined, and I was 26 at the time, and they divided us into people who are under 11 and people who are over 11 on the first day of class. Yeah. And I was in the over 11 class, and it was a really important experience for me. Yeah. I grew up really scared of guns. I didn't have guns growing up. I didn't shoot guns. And the idea of a kid with a gun was the worst case scenario. And so to be in this classroom setting that really emphasized safety, we had incredible instructors with these kids, was just this really, really great experience for me. And I would come home every night, and I would tell my then boyfriend, now husband, about it. And, I was a writer, so I started writing it down, and I thought, I'm going to write an essay about this someday. It was funny. It was funny because I was the only adult, and I had so much admiration for those kids. Kids are so good at doing something new and being bad at something. And even though I was only 26, I'd kind of lost that a little bit. Like I was used to being pretty good at the things that I did. And so it was really, I don't know. It's just
you were bad at it.
I was really bad at it. I was bad at being bad at something, and I was really bad at hunting. And it was a great learning experience though. And I tried a number of times to write about it, and I couldn't write a contained essay because I couldn't explain why the hell I was learning to hunt in the first place. And eventually, I realized, oh, this is a book. It's not an essay, it's a book. So, and then 6 years later, I finished it, and I found an agent and a publisher. And
is it still available? Can I find it
It is still available. I know they still have it at the library, at the Deschutes Library.
Okay. If you want to know more about Lily.
Yeah, you'll learn more than you ever wanted to know. Because it is a memoir too. It's personal also. 6 years is a long time in anybody's life, and a lot happened to me during that time. I had people really close to me die, and a lot of the book was about life and death. And hunting, you're taking somebody's life, and it's a wide-ranging kind of exploration of hunting.
That's great.
In my experience.
Well, and the Guardian picked it up. Or not the Guardian, the San Francisco Chronicle, which is not a conservative publication.
No, it's not. It was fun to see people. I think there was a lot of news media was interested in the book, and the idea of somebody who wasn't a stereotypical hunter taking it up and kind of finding value in it. Hunting's been on the decline for a really long time in the United States, and we also have a wildlife system in the United States that's largely funded by hunters. So we have kind of this weird situation where a lot of the environmentalists who care a lot about wildlife aren't actually the ones funding conservation in the United States. It's the hunters who are.
Hunters, sure.
And so this disconnect between what the modern conservation movement looks like and who's funding it is kind of a big deal that hasn't really been reconciled.
I've been fascinated by organizations like Ducks Unlimited who hunt ducks, but also then are the ones who are preserving more duck habitat than any other environmental group. And it goes to what you're speaking on. It's super interesting.
Yeah. I mean, all wildlife issues in a way kind of come back to habitat. And so, we live in a place that's growing, the population's growing really fast. There's new neighborhoods, new roads. Yeah. A lot of the people who are moving here are people moving from cities. They don't want people shooting guns right outside their house or where they're recreating necessarily. Yeah. And so there's more kind of land use conflicts related to hunting, and hunters have less and less access to areas. So when a group like Ducks Unlimited can preserve land and allow hunting access, it's a win for.
Well, the new school year is right around the corner. By the time we publish this, I think you will be one day away from starting your new semester. Okay. What are you excited about for this year?
I have a couple things I'm really excited about for this year. One is just, I mentioned earlier, the students that I had last year were just a true dream team. I mean, this is kind of the group of students that I hoped for when I first took the job, and I found them last year, and a lot of them are coming back. So I just was really impressed by what they were able to do last year. They did some really serious investigative journalism for the Broadside. They just worked really well together as a team, and I'm just excited to see what they can do with another year together. And then we have some new ventures happening at COCC too. We have a new multimedia journalism course that we've never offered before. I'm excited to see kind of what that sparks in students and what they make. And then we also have a new partnership with a nonprofit called For Journalism, or the Fund for Oregon Rural Journalism. They have a high school program for students. There's only one high school in the area that still has a student newspaper.
Right.
So most high school students don't have access to anything like that. Forge, this nonprofit, has created a paid internship for high school students who want to learn about journalism and create a regional online publication. It's called the Future Journalists of America, and the publication that they create is called The Obsidian. And COCC is going to start working with those students too. So they're going to spend about half of their internship time at COCC. And I'm just excited about that. You know, more energy, more young people learning journalism, and
more funding, which is good.
More funding. Yeah. I mean, I think that there are journalism jobs in Central Oregon, and we need people to do them. And so getting more young people excited and giving them the foundational skills to become journalists is going to benefit all of us.
Yeah, Forge is interesting because they're part of that new wave of nonprofit supported funding for journalism, and you can see it now entering into the stuff that you're doing at COCC to provide these guys some pathway in. So it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. It's all change.
Yeah.
You know, it's now you've got to get those dollars from somewhere else besides subscriptions. Yeah.
There are different opportunities. One of my students at COCC actually was accepted this summer into the New York Times Corps, which is one of their relatively new programs. It's 20 students across the country, and one of them is a COCC student. But he's going to basically have New York Times journalists mentoring him throughout the rest of his college education, which is really cool for him personally. But I think it's going to be really cool for the Broadside and for other COCC students too, because it's, all of it's such a group effort that it's going to be really neat to see him learning from all these other outlets and then being able to share that with students at COCC.
Great. Well, we're at the end of our time for this. Anything that you want to touch on that we did not? And I know we've been all over the place.
No, this is just great. It's cool that there's this podcast here, and it's just like one more outlet for local news and the community's interests.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to get you on. You're doing such good stuff up at COCC, and I know people still know your name from the Bulletin, and they're going to want to know where Lily went.
Nowhere. I'm still here.
Still doing it. Well, this has been the Bend Don't Break podcast. If you liked what you heard, go on the bendsource.com, become a member, and support cool things like this. And we will continue to hopefully work with COCC and Lily and inspiring journalists. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to the Bend Don't Break podcast, powered by The Source Weekly. To read, hear, and see more of what we do, go to bendsource.com.